Hey there, Chaos and Caffeine crew. Welcome back to another episode where we embrace the beautiful mess of parenting, neurodivergence, and the relentless pursuit of that elusive thing called balance. Today, I am beyond thrilled to introduce a guest who embodies the spirit of resilience and empowerment, the phenomenal Talia Zamora. Talia is an award-winning coach specializing in uplifting women from neurodivergent families. With a background in business improvement and management, she transitioned into coaching in 2018 to create a more flexible life for her family, especially her two autistic sons. Her coaching is a lifeline for parents navigating the complexities of neurodivergence. She offers bespoke, non-judgmental support tailored to individual needs, helping clients build confidence, set achievable goals, and redefine success on their own terms. In addition to her one-on-one coaching, Talia provides training and group coaching for ambitious entrepreneurs, guiding them to grow businesses they are passionate about while maintaining balance and well-being. Her insights have been featured on many podcasts, such as Far to Fabulous and Life in Black and White and All the Shades in Between, where she shares strategies for effective time management, self-care, and supporting neurodivergent kiddos. You know, that thing that we're doing here. So grab your coffee or reheat your third cup, no judgment here, and join us as we dive into a conversation filled with wisdom, authenticity, and the kind of support that every ADHD parent deserves. Talia, welcome to Chaos and Caffeine.
Thank you. Lovely to be here, Danielle.
So I want to dive into your backstory, but first I need to know, what is it like having two kiddos on the spectrum, because I am struggling with one.
Actually, the second one, it becomes easier because you've already learned in many ways. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge. It took me a while to realize what was going on. Although they were technically, I knew that my youngest was neurodivergent because I saw him as being dyslexic, and that was what I thought for a long time because that's in our family. My both my parents are dyslexic, and so am I. So I just kind of put it down to that. But actually, as time went on and picked up different things. So, and then the second one I learned through the first one because I was learning so much. I did a few parenting courses and met some other parents, and you talk about what's going on, and you then start realizing, oh, that's autistic too. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why they're doing that. So yeah, I just the second one came a bit easier, although it was a surprise because I was just focused on the first for a
Yeah.
while.
That
Mm.
makes a lot of sense. I definitely did not think of it that way, but I will never get to test that theory, but I probably would be better prepared for the second to come along now that we've handled the first.
Yeah. How old is your child?
9.
9. Okay. So you've had quite a few years of learning
Yeah,
already, but you've got the teenage hormones to come. So yeah, best of luck with that.
thank you. How old are yours?
They're 14 and 16.
Ah,
So both boys. Yeah, so we're definitely going through that hormonal change and those challenges that come with it, and the mood that goes up and down. So yeah,
mhm.
that's part of the challenge. All
Yeah.
good fun.
I feel like the ADHD parenting, I'm sorry, I feel like the neurotypical parenting books do not prepare you for boy mom life. And then you throw
Mm,
anything neurodivergent in the mix, and it's like, holy crap, what's happening here? Like,
yeah, yeah. There's so much to take in, and yeah, I don't think you can really learn it from a book. It definitely helps, like the awareness and opening and expanding my mind, reading things, whether it's articles or books or watching videos. But living it is the true way, isn't it? Because every family is different. I call this my normal, and I was
yeah,
oblivious to everybody else's normal being so very different to mine for a
yeah.
very long time. Because yeah, this was how we live our life, and I wasn't aware that this wasn't what other people do.
I actually thought of it last night when I had my son. We lived away because my ex is military. And
Mm.
my friends thought I was just being an over dramatic new mom. They thought it's no way that it's that hard. She's just being dramatic. But then we moved home very shortly after that, and they were like, oh, yeah, he is a handful, isn't he? And I'm like, yes, yes, he is.
It's hard to explain it to other people, and
Yeah.
unless they get it and they understand and they're from that neurodivergent world, then yeah, it's hard. It really is hard to explain. How old was your son when you realised that maybe I need to figure this out a bit, dig a bit deeper?
So we actually started the journey a little reverse. He was a handful as a no lie, as a baby and
Mm,
toddler. When he was 3, his daycare sent out a positive parenting self led program that we could all
mm,
take, and I did, and it transformed our lives. But that was 3 years before the diagnosis. But the reason it had worked, I've learned along the way, is that positive parenting is really the only way to parent our children. It's the only way that they really
yeah,
respond to. That happened to prepare me for the diagnosis around
yeah.
6.
And
Yeah.
I think it's beneficial actually before that you go for a diagnosis to have some self-learning and so, understanding yourself, your child, your family. I've got a family member who had a diagnosis, and it turns out, well, the doctor said they're not autistic, and I see it. I can see it. I can see that, and
Yeah.
they had a therapist that was recommending that they go for a diagnosis, but the parents hadn't been educated enough to put in their own history and understanding and quirks and nuances. They didn't understand enough because they hadn't been educated enough themselves to support the diagnosis, if that makes sense. I don't know what it's like in the
Yeah.
US, but over here as a parent you get answered like 100 questions, and you have to put in a report about your child and what you see and what challenges you've had. And I think if it's your normal and you don't realize, you haven't got much to write about. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think having the parent courses, whether it's positive parenting or sibling rivalry or whatever kind of parenting courses you're going on, it definitely helps you to understand your kids a bit better and see the differences.
Yeah. In America, it's kind of willy-nilly. I don't know if that's a term that you're familiar with.
Yes, yeah.
We do fill out the questionnaire, but the reason I thought about, last night I was thinking about how my journey is kind of backwards from everyone else's and how the parenting classes helped me. It actually hurt me in the long run because when I told my pediatrician, like our son's struggling in school, they think it's ADHD. He said this to me. He was like, when parents come in and they say our child needs ADHD treatment, like I can usually see it all over the parents' faces. He was like, but you don't look that way. Like, sir, this is a lot of self work. This is not like a not stressed out ADHD parent. But yeah, I was like, no, I've had the training. It's not me that he's struggling with, it's academically. So finally, after 3 years, he was like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
But
it was a
that's really
journey.
surprising that you had to convince the doctor that you saw it and that you weren't stressed. That's a really peculiar thing. I've never heard that before.
Yeah,
That's yeah.
yeah,
That actually he's there to assess the child, not to assess you.
yeah. He's actually amazing. If he's listening to this, I love you, Dr. Ponser. But he has said multiple times to me, we all have a little bit of anxiety. We all have a little bit of ADHD. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And we have school struggles.
Yeah, but that's yeah. I guess maybe the doctor was assessing me too, but actually, I just didn't realize it. So yeah, it's funny to see it from that perspective. So yeah.
So I'm very curious. I'm sure it did. Enlighten us on how your son's diagnosis possibly led you to this career
Oh
path.
yeah,
How did
it
that happen?
certainly did.
Did it?
I was in industry for years, and I worked for a university within estates looking after buildings and contracts. And then I went on to do uh, continuous improvement and then business improvement outside of the university. So it was for a big corporate company. And I was struggling as a parent because I wanted to be there for my kids, pick up, drop off, school meetings, school assemblies, sports days, all that. But then on top of that, started coming doctor's appointments and little things that were happening, like getting ears checked and just behavioural issues that I was talking to the doctor about, having appointments about. even down to dentists became a bit more of a thing than maybe a normal child. So I needed flexibility. So I was coming to the end of a contract, and I was starting the journey of doing parenting courses and understanding a bit more, and not using the word autism at that point because I didn't quite know. But again, like I mentioned earlier, dyslexia was a journey kind of that I was on, but then it just didn't quite add up. So then I kind of accidentally on purpose started working for myself because I didn't really find the job that I wanted in a location that was feasible with the hours that I needed, the flexibility I needed. I wanted to. I didn't want my kids to be in wraparound care, like being at school and then also having a nanny or a daycare or something. So I just kind of fell into it a little bit, and I thought, I've never wanted to work for myself. Why am I doing this? How do I do it? Um, but yeah, it happened really quickly. I obviously, like I said, I was working in business improvement, so it kind of made sense to use those skills that I'd already gained at university. Not working, but within studying, I'd done marketing, I'd done business management, so it made sense to use those skills. So I got myself a coach to help me to set up my business. And then she was obviously a business coach. So then we talked about business coaching, and I was obviously had business improvement behind me. So that started the coaching journey. Then I went into a training course for the coaching. And then fast forward, let's say a year or two, I started a pattern of a particular type of client. And this particular type of client, without me consciously doing it, was a neurodivergent woman, mainly a mother, somebody that was similar to me, similar lifestyle, similar affinity, was having struggles with their child, needed to build a business around their home that was flexible, had a certain skill and passion that they wanted to make into a business and grow it and have the comforts and desires that they wanted in life to achieve and be successful, all these things, but needed a bit of support to do that. So that pattern of these particular type of women just became stronger and stronger. I mean, every now and again I had a male client, but they were normally referred to me or through word of mouth, and it still happens. It's not like I will say no to a certain type of person that knocks at the door, but it just became apparent. And so the more courses I did, the more skills that I kind of picked up and understood, and strategies, even down to the Pomodoro effect, like practice where it's like 20-minute chunks and chunking your work down and doing things in a gentle way, giving yourself breaks, building habits, that kind of thing, attaching rewards. So all those kind of skills, especially around the ADHD kind of brain and mindset, and like understanding the methods, almost like a computer with lots of multiple screens on, and the chaos, and how to bring that in and do it in a gentle way, and kind of do things in the right way for you. And as you've learned and seen in the neurodivergent world, we quite kind of strive to be like everybody else until suddenly a penny drops. And maybe this will be the penny for many people, is that the penny drops that you realize, I don't need to do it like everybody else. I don't have to do it the same way as they do it. I can do it my way, whether that's parenting or whether that's building a business or whether it's both. I don't have to conform, and life will be so much easier, even though everybody will frown at me and say, you should be doing this with your child, and they should be eating this, and they should be sitting at the table and eating with knife and fork, and they shouldn't be eating in front of the TV, or they should go to bed at this time, and they should be wearing pajamas to bed, and all these shoulds. And then suddenly you realize, you know what? If my child doesn't want to wear pajamas, it's absolutely fine. If my child doesn't want to talk to me when we're sitting at the dinner table and wants to use a spoon only, that's fine too. If they need their food to be separate on the plates, on different bowls, that's fine too. So yeah, all these things that you are trying not to do because nobody else does. It's the same with business and in family. That actually, that's what I try and help people to achieve by doing it in their own way. So I coach them to pull their best skills forward and to potentially reach out for support with those ones that they really struggle with, that stay at the bottom of the to-do list, that are impossible. And it's the same with parents as well. There's certain things like filling out doctor's forms or filling out applications for their kids or applying for support, that it can be such a mind boggle. Reach out and get some support, let someone help you to do that, and realize that you don't have to do it on your own. And then things get a bit easier because you're not bogged down by these little things that actually can't seem to get done. So anyway, I hope that kind of answered the question. That this is yes, my children have kind of pushed me on this journey to work with and support neurodivergent people in one way or another, whether it's family, whether it's business, whether it's both, and whether it's because they've got a house full of autistic kids, or they're ADHD themselves, or both. So yeah, it could be either or.
I definitely want to dive into challenges that parents face starting a business and neurodivergent parenting. But I'm curious to know, you said that your children's neurodivergence possibly came from your parents. And mine
Yeah.
is the same. Both of my parents have ADHD. And I'm wondering if you get pushback on the parenting that you do based on how they think it should be,
Yes.
or if they even realize that it's been passed down the line.
It's so interesting because my mum, unfortunately, she died 3 years ago. So I was only just really coming to the terms of, oh, my family, this one, this one, this one, this one, because I discovered my my children, and started to discover my own differences and traits, not quite understanding it. And then my husband started understanding his. And then it kind of has that ripple effect. Oh, what other family members? So yes, from early on, I understood that both my parents were dyslexic, and that's where mine came from. But it wasn't until later that I thought, oh, my parents have got other traits as well, a lot of them. And it makes more sense why my dad is quiet and doesn't like to be challenged, and does certain things in particular ways, and why he's so successful in business and himself and his own career as well. It's these certain traits that he's got that, that to me it makes sense. And then with my mum, that was a really strange reflection, because it wasn't until she passed I thought, oh, that's why she was ADHD. That's why she didn't do anything until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, she had OCD. That's why everything in her house was green and everything was matching. And all the cupboards were lined up, and the tubs were all the same, and like it's peculiar, all these things I picked up on afterwards and thought, oh wow, like it makes total sense now. But it took a
Yeah.
while, but then it's an interesting journey, because then you start discovering your own differences. There's a bit of grief that comes with that you think, oh wow, all those years I was a child and I didn't know that I had these traits, and didn't know why I struggled so much at school, or why I didn't have great friendships, or I didn't like certain social experiences. I was just pushing myself to do what everybody else
Yeah.
did. And then you kind of start unpicking it all. And I use the word neurodivergence a lot, because actually I feel like I've got an aspect of so many different things. And I just think, well, and I have had a screening for autism, but I haven't really gone down the full journey of having a proper diagnosis. And I got diagnosed with dyslexia when I was younger anyway. So actually, I don't feel like I'm any one thing. There is aspects and traits that I've got from multiple different
Yeah.
things. I haven't quite discovered anything about me that's Tourette's yet, but it could come later. But there's a lot of things under that neurodivergent umbrella that I can relate to. So yeah, in answer to that, sorry, a long answer. That there is, and they don't necessarily realise it themselves, and they continue to expect me to parent in the same way as everybody else does. And there's often a judgment, or why are you doing it that way, or they should really be going out and getting some fresh air, or they really should be exercising more, or why have you stopped doing clubs, and why aren't they doing their homework right now? There's a lot of that happens.
Looking for some new toys and tools that your ADHD kiddos will love? Play Therapy Supply has you covered with a great selection of toys, games, and fidgets that can be used by ADHD children, their parents, caregivers, and professionals alike. From fidget toys that help children calm down, de-stress, and focus, to social emotional learning resources to help kids understand their feelings and emotions, to games and activities designed to improve emotional regulation. Play Therapy Supply has it all. For thousands of items and fast and free shipping, visit playtherapysupply.com today. First, I want to say I'm sorry about your mom. And
thank you.
second, I mean, I'm sure that's typical in neurotypical families too, right? Parents judging their children's parenting. But it feels like to me, I don't know. I feel like our parents should understand just a little more, because we're like parenting a mini version of you and a mini version of me, and you should get it. But like my parents, they really don't. Sometimes it clicks.
But every now and
Yeah.
again, they must say to you, "Oh, you used to do that when you were a
Yes.
child," and "Oh, yeah, I do things like that all the time." But they don't realize that's quite affirming and that's quite a nice thing for you to hear. But they don't realize that actually, oh, stop and wait a minute. Maybe I should stop nagging them about homework and clubs and eating and things like that, and realize actually I didn't like that as a child, so why should my grandchild like that? But they think you should conform like everybody else.
And it's so challenging. But then, like, every now and again, my mom or dad will be like, "Oh, I see why you do that. Oh, that makes sense. Yes, like, I know him best. Like,
Hallelujah.
I know what I'm doing here." Like, this is a crazy, I'll try to keep it very short. We were at the beach last year and we were able to witness a sea turtle hatching where they hatch and then crawl to the ocean. But it was like late at
Amazing.
night. They have to see the moon to do that. And I was trying to tell my mom, I was like, I know, but if we don't hurry and get him in the bed, he's going to be very cranky tomorrow. And she's like, no, it's okay. It's just
Mm.
one night. For the rest of the trip, he was a challenge because his routine was thrown off and he was hateful. And she was like, oh, I get it now. And I'm
Mm.
like, yes, I tried to tell you, but just trust me next time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does sometimes feel like you're making a fuss about nothing, but you know your child. And you know that just one small thing, like not getting them to eat at a certain time, that you're going to go past that window and they're going to hit the roof. It's just the little tiny things that other people will think, oh no, they can wait. They can stay up a bit later. They can wear different socks. They can borrow their cousin Joe's welly boots and go in the mud. No, they
Not at
can't.
all.
That's not a good idea. So yeah, it's the little things to other people that they'll just be really flippant about. But for us, it's like, no, you know what? We know our children. It's not a good idea.
So I want to circle
Mm.
back. I'm sorry, I know I'm taking you all over the map. I
No,
want to
no,
know
it's
maybe
okay.
the biggest challenge or theme that you see in neurodivergent women starting businesses with neurodivergent families.
Mm. So, do you know what? One of the biggest challenges I would say is boundaries, is setting their own boundaries and that self-care aspect, and like running 100 miles an hour and it's just not realistic, and suddenly they hit a wall and they burn out. So I like to try and catch them before the burnout
Yeah.
happens. And because not everybody wants to invest in a coach the minute they start running a business, because they don't necessarily see that they need that support straight away, and they want to have a sense of achievement themselves. I don't know what it's like in the US, but for sure in the UK, women for some reason have a different way of building a business than men. And I know that's quite generalistic, but as in they don't take as many
Mm.
risks, and that's I think quite typical of a type of neurodivergent person, more the autistic type, whereas the ADHD types will take a bit more risk. They won't be as cautious, but it can be quite difficult to help them to build the confidence to have to take that risk. So it will be like getting someone to build their website or to do their branding for them or to get an accountant, those kind of things that you need right at the very beginning, or to someone to take a professional photo of them. They'll try and do it all themselves. So what they end up doing is being a business manager instead of working within their business, right? So they're not doing the thing that they started out that drove them to what they wanted to do to run a business and to build a business, which could be, let's say, an artist, or let's say a therapist, or somebody that is um, running a cafe, or like
Yeah.
anything that they're passionate about. They're losing their passion because they're having to spend so much effort and time on the actual managing of the business instead of the job that they wanted to do in the first place. So setting those boundaries at early stages to not overdo the time, but also the jobs, because they give themselves every single job, and then not being realistic with that process, and thinking, actually, how can I do this in a way that I'm not going to burn out, and that I can be there for my kids, that I can do the school pickup, that I can actually still run the house at the same time. Because some people will end up putting 60 odd hours a week into their business because they want it to work. Obviously, they've got to get it off the ground. But if you're also needing to be with your kids for 30, 40 hours a week, well, they're not at school, if not more actually, and then cooking dinners and doing laundry and numerous other things, whether you're walking the dog or taking care of your mum or doing the food shopping for you and your neighbour. There's so many other things that come into it that, yeah, the boundaries and the reality is huge.
Ooh, girl, you are speaking to me. So I do believe I'm ADHD, possibly autistic traits. And I think it's the impulsiveness of us that are like, okay, let's do this thing. When you were speaking, I think
Mm,
I just had a reframe. I tend to blame a lot of my low risk tendencies on trying to be frugal. But I think that it's something that you
mm,
just said in there that I'm afraid to risk that part of hiring someone to
yeah.
help me with different aspects of the podcast or the coaching or whatever.
It's huge. So it's something very female, I think, that we don't take those risks with investing. We don't have that trust and that self-confidence to spend that money, because obviously you've got to make it back if you're going to spend it, or somewhere or another you've got to be able to justify that you're spending that much money. And quite often, you've got to spend tens of thousands of pounds on things, especially if it's something like a physical entity, like a cafe. You've got to spend a lot of money up front, and it can be really hard to take those risks. But even when you're providing a service like branding or marketing, you've still got to invest in the programs and the equipment to be able to, whether it's a laptop, or whether it's a Zoom uh, payment, or whether it's a CRM system, you've still got to invest in those. And I think there's a lot of people, including myself, that will start out trying to do things at low level as possible. And then you've got to unpick it later. Like, so, for instance, I did my own website and my own branding, but within less than a year, I was paying somebody to do my website and my branding because I didn't do it very well. So, so then really needed help to do that, because I didn't take that risk in the first place, and I didn't trust that I was going to seriously run a business and that I was going to make something of it. So yeah, it's an interesting process.
You had said that people resist hiring a business coach right from the beginning, and I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I did not do. I did not hire someone to guide me through the process right
Mm,
away who had already been there. And the crazy thing is someone told me, he was like, you can choose not to hire a business coach, but you'll spend 2 years learning what they could teach you in 6 months. And the Capricorn in
yes, it's
me,
about speed.
yes,
It is. It
yes,
literally is. That's what a coach is. It's about speed,
yes,
and that can be a nutritional coach. It can be a PT, a health
yeah,
coach. It could be any kind of coach. It's about speed. Of course, if you put your mind to it, any one of us can do it on our own. But having somebody to do it with you will speed you up, but build your confidence so much quicker. That's part of that speed, right? And your value and your self-belief. It's gonna speed up, and that's where you start earning the money a lot quicker and your business starts growing quicker. So yeah, it's a real catch-22. It's but I'm grateful to myself that I did actually get a coach within a few months of deciding that actually I'm gonna not go back into industry, and I'm gonna build a business, and I need a bit of clarity here, somebody to bounce ideas off of, a bit of
yeah.
accountability, some encouragement. You get so much from a coach, or I have personally, and I've had periods of time without a coach, but I'm much happier when I've got one, and I've got one at the moment, and it's great because you get excited about new developments and things that's happening, and you can talk to somebody about it that will also be excited for you and encourage you and point things out. And yeah, it's invaluable.
I know, but the Capricorn in me, I was like, no, I can figure this out. And
Yeah. Did you actually get one in the end, though?
yeah, 2 years later, yeah.
Oh wow, it took 2 years. Okay,
Once
fair
I
enough.
realized you're coming up on the 2 years that he referenced that you could have short circuited,
Oh
by a year and a
wow,
half. And I was like,
yeah,
yeah. So I would
yeah.
encourage.
But sometimes we just have to learn. We just have to
I know,
learn.
but that's part of that low risk. I was like, man, that seems like such a lot of amount of money. And he was like, no, you're going to get that back in the first 6 months. And I was like, I don't see that, happening. But I definitely wasted some time.
Mm. It's a shame, isn't it? But you've got to be able to build that confidence and trust yourself. Also, be able to justify it to other people
Yeah,
because that's a big part of it. What will other people think? You know, can I tell my partner that I'm doing this and spending how
I
much
know.
on a coach? You know? Can I really stand there and say, yep, I deserve this. I need this. It's going to help me,
Yeah.
and be really confident that you're doing the right thing to get you moving forward and a lot faster. So yeah, it can be really hard.
In the
But
end, I found someone who basically guaranteed if we don't earn your money back in the first 6 months, she was like, I'll just give you your money back. I'm a
amazing.
Capricorn, so I'm very hard to deal with. And she knew that because her partner is a Capricorn. So she understood. And she was like, I'm used to dealing with this. She was like, I know you need all of the guarantees, but I really just,
Amazing that she
yes,
trusted you though as well.
yes,
Because as a coach, you need to say that to someone. You need to trust that they're going to be someone that takes action,
yeah,
and that they're not recruiting you thinking you're just going to run their business for them,
yeah.
that they actually have the passion and the want and the desire
Mm.
to do what it takes. So she trusted you a lot to be able to say that too,
Thank
which
you
is
for that.
amazing.
I will thank her for that later when I speak to
Mm.
her.
But she saw something in you for sure. So yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you. I had a really strong desire to leave my previous job. I owned a small cleaning business. It was not glamorous. I turned 40. I was
Mm.
like, I cannot keep doing this. And so I think she's seen the desire to leave that and move into something that was a little bit less manual and hard on my body, but also something, where I could still be flexible and, like you said, be there for the kid after school and events and all
Mm.
of that. So I think she just seen the desire and the want to in me. And if I handed her this check, that I would actually act on it because it was very terrifying.
Yes. Yeah. But when there's money on the table, we tend to step up and,
Yeah,
take action.
yeah.
So it definitely helps because I've given free coaching before. I've had people come to me and they're really stuck and they haven't got the money. So I've given the sessions out to help people out, but it's not the same. It really is not the same.
Mm-mm.
They don't invest themselves and their time in it in the same way. And I have that anyway through because some of the parenting coaching that I do, family coaching is through a charity. So they will get free coaching, and those people, they'll be the ones that don't turn up for sessions, or
Mm.
they'll be late, or they'll move things about and they won't commit in the same way. But the ones that, even still through the charity, that are paying, they show up and they take it seriously and they take action.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference.
In the States, they say those that pay attention. And I truly
Mm,
wholeheartedly believe that. Your attention is
yeah.
where your money is going because those are your
Mm,
resources. So I see that.
yeah. Yeah. You don't take it for granted so much when you're paying.
Yeah.
So yeah, amazing.
So, Talia, I
So
know that everyone that's listening, especially the business owners who are like myself and terrified of every decision along the way, are dying to know how they could work with you.
well, I work one to one with clients and on Zoom, so wherever anybody is in the world, it's very possible. Um, as long as you're not going to wake me up in the middle of the night for a session, I need my sleep. So I've got a website which is taliazamora.com, which I'll give you to put in the show notes. And I'm also on LinkedIn, so you can find me on there if you want to snoop at me and what I do. I share a lot of blogs and articles. I also have a weekly newsletter with top tips in there. So if the people wanted to follow me, they can join my mailing list. They get a free training session as well on how to find more clients. So you can watch that video. It's a free download. So yeah, if they want to connect to learn, they can do that. And if they want to go one step further, they can book a call to have a chat if they want to really invest in themselves and step into that zone and take charge and think, right, I'm going to do it. And if they're neurodivergent, it means that they will cater to their nuances, their differences. That we will build a business and processes that will suit them and work to their skill set. And I will help them to have a really kind of boundary set, realistic business that they can manage that hasn't got that 100 blogs to write for next month and hundreds of networking that they need to go to, meetings that they need to run, and the articles that they want to write or lives that they want to do on LinkedIn every single day. I will try and help them to contain it in such a way that actually they're being visible, they're putting their business out there, but they're also taking care of themselves and they're finding a way to bring the business in that they want. Or if it's working with families, that's all about connecting with their kids, doing things just a tiny little bit differently, like sitting your child at a different chair at the table, or letting them sit in the front so they don't have to sit next to their sibling at the back, and just give them space, giving them headphones so they don't have to listen to all the noise and the chaos. Whatever it is, it's finding those little things and those triggers that are sometimes really hard to deal with. And identifying that actually you can do some really small changes that make a big difference. And that, if I'm business coaching, those conversations come up anyway. But otherwise, if we're just focusing on the kids and the family, then it's tailored to them and their needs. So yeah, that's all via my website or LinkedIn if people want to know more.
I love that so much. And I could do this all day. Selfishly, I would pick your brain for hours, but I want to be respectful of your time. I know you're a busy woman.
Oh, thank you.
So I've picked up things we should focus on is being a little bit more risk tolerant, self-care, and setting boundaries. What
Mm.
what other advice would you like to leave the listeners with on possibly starting a business or definitely raising a family?
So on starting a business, I would think about your why and who needs it, and that particular person, which I call an ideal client. Think about the service that you want to provide to them. That's what kind of the starting point, as well as then who are you going to need to help you to do this, to make this realistic.
Mm.
So think about that. Think about what is if you feel resistant about reaching out for help and paying somebody to do a website, or paying a coach to help you, or even having somebody to do marketing for you. What is that resistance and why? And question yourself about that, because it's not always about the money. It's quite often about your self-value. So that's the starting point and the things to think about in terms of your business. And then when it comes to families, it's one really big but simple thing is to do it your way. Do it the way that suits you and your family. Because all too often, including myself, is that you follow what everybody else is doing, and it's kind of can be detrimental to your family. So if you're trying to get them to play football, which you call soccer out there, or you're trying to get them to do ice skating, or you're trying to send them to ballet or dance, and whatever, all the other kids are doing it, so my kids are going to do it too. And you're fighting to get the outfit on and the uniform on, and to have the clothes that feel comfortable for them. Or it's food, they're not eating enough vegetables. You've got to get those vegetables in. And pick your battles and do things your way, and that's okay.
I love that so much. I feel like you spoke directly to me today in so many ways. So thank you for the reminders and your time
Mm,
today.
you're welcome. Absolutely welcome. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be part of this.
Phew. Okay, deep breath. Can we just take a minute to collectively bask in the badassery that is Talia Zamora? I mean, if that wasn't a masterclass in reclaiming your power as a neurodivergent parent, I don't know what is. Talia just handed us a permission slip to toss out the guilt, reframe success, and dare I say, actually enjoy the wild, wonderful ride of parenting our out-of-the-box kiddos. Whether you're running on espresso shots or raw determination today, I hope you leave this episode with one big takeaway. You are not alone. This chaos, this caffeine-fueled journey, you've got company and you have options. Be sure to check out Talia's work. She's the kind of coach you want in your corner when the IEP meetings get spicy and the parenting guilt gets loud. Her links are in the show notes, so go stalk her, the respectful kind, obviously. And hey, if this episode made you laugh, cry, or clutch your emotional support Stanley tumbler just a little tighter, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. But more importantly, share it with your mom squad. Text it to your sister-in-law who still thinks ADHD is just bad parenting. Bless her heart. Until next time, keep the chaos cozy, the caffeine flowing, and remember, you were never meant to do this alone. You've got this, and I've got you.